Welcome to another show. Today we're going to rank Elvis Presley's top female co-stars.
Come back when you've grown up.
You think I'm going to get any more grown up than this? How old do you think I am anyway?
I don't know, but I'm sure I've got neckties that are older than you are.
Most of Elvis Presley's films were romantic comedies. He was featured with some of the hottest leading ladies of the 50s and 60s. Let's rank the ones he steamed up the silver screen with the most. Number 5, Ursula Andres in Fun in Acapulco. Mike Wingren, Elvis, works on a boat in Acapulco, Mexico, when Janie Harkins, Terry Hope, the bratty daughter of the boat owner, gets him fired. Mike must find new work. A Mexican boy named Raul helps him get a job as a lifeguard and singer at a local hotel. Clashes abound when Mike runs into a rival lifeguard, who is the champion diver of Mexico. He is angry at Mike for taking some of his hours, and for stealing his woman, Andres. Mike is recovering from post-traumatic stress disorder and a fear of heights, following a tragic high-wire accident during his career as a circus performer. However, after Mike sees the lifeguard perform a number of dangerous dives, including flips and headfirst dives into a section of the pool surrounded by a ring of fire, he decides to get even with him and eventually sets himself up to perform a death-defying dive off the 136-foot cliffs of La Quebrada in front of hundreds of people. Mike dives off the cliff and successfully lands in the water, earning the lifeguard's respect. As the crowd and the lifeguard applaud, Mike performs one more song and leaves with Margarita and Raul. In 1963, Ursula was the hottest woman on the planet. After trying to make her mark in Hollywood since 1955, in 1962 she had finally shot to stardom, emerging from the sea in that bikini in the very first James Bond movie, Dr. No. The King's producers quickly snapped her up to play his love interest in another film set by the beach. Elvis, of course, already had a reputation by then of falling for his co-stars. Would he be able to resist a woman with a gold-plated license to thrill? Here's what Priscilla writes about what Elvis said about Andres. GD. She was a big woman, Elvis was saying about his co-star. Body like a man, no hips, and shoulders broader than mine. I was embarrassed to take my shirt off next to her. Usually, it would be Elvis who would work his charm and pursue co-stars. But according to his Memphis Mafia friend Sonny West, this time it was the other way around. West said, they were very close. She went after him. She wanted him bad. Priscilla recalled what Elvis's friend Alan Fortas said to the king of rock and roll. Yeah, but Alan Fortas kidded him. She only had eyes for you. No way, son, not with John Derek lurking all over the place. I'd be dead if I'd start a conversation with her and see his possessive eyes glaring at me. You know, he gave her a car, and on the steering wheel it said, "Baby, you're indispensable." Head over heels in love with her. Never saw anything like it. Priscilla responded to her husband's feelings about Andres. I was surprised to hear how Elvis was talking about Ursula Andres, the alluring sex goddess of Dr. No. Wasn't she pretty? I asked. Pretty? He snickered. Hell, she had a bone structure so sharp, it could cut you in half if you turned too fast. In 1963, Ursula was the hottest woman on the planet. After trying to make her mark in Hollywood since 1955, in 1962 she had finally shot to stardom, emerging from the sea in that bikini in the very first James Bond movie, Dr. No. The King's producers quickly snapped her up to play his love interest in another film set by the beach. Elvis, of course, already had a reputation by then of falling for his co-stars. Would he be able to resist a woman with a gold-plated license to thrill? Ursula later described her feelings when she first met Elvis. The only way I knew him was from TV, this new idol, this hip-swinging lover with a guitar. The first day I went to work, he came over, this humble man, full of charm, love in his eyes, and kindness, and being so considerate and warm. I was so surprised. Terry Garr made her uncredited movie debut as an extra in this film. She would go on to appear as an uncredited extra in 4 more Elvis Presley movies before becoming a full-fledged actress. Elvis Presley didn't film in Acapulco and a stunt double was used. Elvis himself was barred from entering Mexico as he had been declared as persona non grata by the Mexican government due to 2 incidents at the Las Americas movie theater in the Mexican capital, one of them being a brawl between Elvis's fans and naysayers. The main cause was comments made by Elvis himself saying that he refused to perform live in Mexico, as he found the country distasteful as a whole and would have preferred to kiss 3 African Americans than a single Mexican. Elvis did not in fact say this. It was reported that a Mexican politician started this rumor because Elvis would not give a private concert for his daughter and her friends. Number 4, Frankie and Johnny.
Can't be. No 2 women kiss alike.
It can't be is right. From now on, it's you and me, Nellie. Are you with me? Well, maybe she is, but I'm not.
Frankie and Johnny is a 1966 American Western musical film starring Elvis Presley as a riverboat gambler. The role of Frankie was played by Donna Douglas from the Beverly Hillbillies TV series. The film reached number 40 on the Variety Weekly National Box Office list for 1966. Johnny and girlfriend Frankie are performers on a Mississippi riverboat, which also has a casino. Johnny is a compulsive gambler who is down on his luck and in debt. Johnny and his friend Cully, a musician and composer, visit a gypsy camp to get his fortune told.
Frankie and me, we are lovers. Oh Lordy, how we can love.
A lady reads tea leaves and tells Johnny that he will soon meet a red-haired woman who will bring him luck. Back on the boat, Johnny and Cully promptly encounter Nellie Bly, their boss Clint Braden's on-again, off-again girlfriend. Nellie has just caught Braden seducing another singer, Mitzi. Since she has red hair, Nellie is persuaded by Johnny to touch his chips for luck. After he wins, Johnny is convinced that the gypsy must be correct. Frankie finds out and becomes jealous, as does Johnny's boss. Blackie, a dim-witted stooge who works for the boss, hears Braden drunkenly complain about how he has lost Nellie. Thinking he can be of help, Blackie switches the blank cartridge in Frankie's stage gun for a real bullet. The boss tries to prevent the impending disaster, but arrives on stage too late and Johnny is shot for real. Frankie forgives his gambling as the love of her life appears to be dying, but he stands up, apparently unhurt. Johnny was saved because the bullet struck a lucky medallion he was wearing that Frankie had given him. One of the most interesting rumors about Donna Douglas is her alleged relationship with Elvis Presley. The 2 actors met while filming the 1957 film Loving You and were rumored to have been dating. However, Donna later married fellow Hillbilly star Edgar Buchanan, and the rumors about her and Elvis Presley died down. Despite the rumors, Elvis and Donna maintained a professional relationship and held each other in high regard. In fact, when Donna was interviewed about Elvis, she spoke highly of him and revealed that they used to meditate and discuss various philosophical topics. Anne Margaret was in discussion to play the part of Nellie, as she owed Edward Small a film under her contract with him. Eileen Wilson's voice was dubbed for Donna Douglas singing scenes.
Tulips on me.
It is her voice on the soundtrack as well. Several retakes were required because Elvis's form-fitting slacks were judged to be too revealing, but the cost of refilming crowd scenes was considered to be too expensive, and so Elvis and his bulge were occasionally left intact. For the soundtrack, this was the first time that the instrumental tracks were pre-recorded and then Elvis came in the following day to do vocals, rather than doing everything at once. The official rationale was that this was a more efficient, modern method of operation, but according to Alan Fortas, the real reason was because Elvis threw a temper tantrum in the studio the first night because of his distaste for the music. The steamboat scene during the opening credits was the Delta Queen, and was actually filmed and used in the 1957 Elizabeth Taylor movie, Raintree County, which was filmed south of Cincinnati, around Anderson's Ferry. Other steamboat scenes include studio stock footage of California steamboats and the steamboat that was used in the MGM production of Showboat. Some sources claim that the SS Mississippi Queen was used in the movie, but it wasn't built until more than 6 years after the movie's release. Nancy Kovac, who played Nellie, is another of many actors and actresses who not only worked with Elvis Presley in a film, but also appeared on Star Trek. Kovac played Nona in the Season 2 episode A Private Little War. Number 3. Juliet Prow in GI Blues.
Well, my millionaire friend from Oklahoma. And where do we go tonight?
Well, that's what I want to talk to you about, Lily. I'm going to have to break our date.
GI Blues is a 1960 American musical comedy film directed by Norman Taurog and starring Elvis Presley and Juliet Prow.
I got those 1, 2, 3, 4 occupation GI Blues.
The movie Presley's fifth, but his first after discharge from the U.S. Army, was filmed at Paramount Pictures Studio, with some pre-production scenery shot on location in West Germany while Presley was stationed there. The movie won a second-place Laurel Award in the category of Top Musical of 1960. U.S. Army Specialist Tulsa McLean, Elvis, is a tank crewman with a singing career. Serving with the 3rd Armored Division in West Germany, McLean dreams of running his own nightclub when he leaves the Army. But such dreams don't come cheap. Tulsa and his buddies have formed a band and perform in various German Gasthauses, nightclubs, and on an armed forces stage. In one bar, he even discovers the record Blue Suede Shoes on a jukebox sung by some guy named Elvis Presley. To raise money, Tulsa places a bet that his tank commander, Dynamite, can spend the night with a club dancer named Lily, Juliet Prow, who is rumored to be hard to get since she turned down another soldier, Turk.
Sarge, you're making a smart move. And your signature on that little paper makes you a full-fledged partner tonight. Hope I'm not making a mistake.
Dynamite and Turk have vied for women before when the two were stationed in Hawaii. When Dynamite gets transferred to Alaska, Tulsa is brought in to take his place in the bet. He is not looking forward to it, but must go through with it. Tulsa uses his southern charm and calls Lily ma'am. She at first sees Tulsa as another occupation duty GI. Then after a day on the Rhine, Lily begins to fall for him. Tulsa's friend Cookie, meanwhile, falls in love with Lily's roommate, Tina from Italy. In the end, Rick's and Marla's baby son Tiger helps Tulsa win the bet for the outfit and Lily's heart. Elvis Presley's Army career began in 1958, and by 1960 it had been 2 years since Presley had made his last film, King Creole. Despite his previous 3 films being mostly slammed by the critics, they warmed to King Creole and its star. Presley felt confident that he had a future in acting after this praise, and he was looking forward to returning to Hollywood after his time in the Army. Hal Wallace originally wanted Michael Curtiz to direct, but eventually selected Norman Taurog. Dolores Hart, Joan Blackman, and Ursula Andre were all tested to play the female lead before deciding on Juliet Prow. Despite critics being dismissive of the overall plot, the film was nominated for 3 awards in 1961. Best Soundtrack Album Grammy, Grammy for Best Vocal Performance, Album, Male, and WGA Best Written Musical. The song Pocketful of Rainbows, seemingly a duet with Elvis and Juliet Prow, had Prow's lip-syncing to an unknown backup singer's vocals. Juliet Prow did not reveal herself to be a singer until after she left Hollywood for the stage, where she triumphed as the triple threat star in the London production of Sweet Charity. Her musical presentation in GI Blues was limited to the nightclub floor, where she was given 2 indifferently choreographed dance numbers that made scant use of her considerable talents. The songwriting team of Jerry Lieber and Mike Stoller wrote 2 songs for the movie, Dog Face and Tulsa's Blues, but later withdrew the songs when they didn't like the royalty payments contract that Elvis's manager Colonel Tom Parker insisted that they sign. Although he was officially still dating actress Anita Wood at the time, we now know that he had met and fallen in love with teenager Priscilla Beaulieu while overseas. Even so, Elvis would, as always throughout his movie career, continue to actively pursue his beautiful co-stars. In this case it was South African dancer Juliet Prow, who was already in a relationship with Frank Sinatra. Prow later said, "Elvis and I had an affair. We had a sexual attraction like 2 healthy young people, but he was already a victim of his fans. We always met in his room and never went out." Number 2. Nancy Sinatra in Speedway.
Can you tell me anything about him? Because I don't get to meet that many people who knew Elvis.
You mean, did we sleep together?
If you want to share that information, go right ahead.
No, I could bring it up because it didn't happen. Unfortunately, it didn't happen.
Oh, no. It could never work. We're complete opposites.
Speedway is a 1968 American musical action film starring Elvis Presley as a race car driver and Nancy Sinatra in her last film role as his romantic interest. Steve Grayson, Elvis, is a generous NASCAR driver with a heart of gold who feels compelled to bail friends and acquaintances out of financial hardship. However, Steve's manager and best friend Kenny Don Ford, Bill Bixby, a compulsive gambler, had been mismanaging Steve's winnings to support his gambling habits.
You did have my income tax made out by a reliable man, didn't you?
Well, of course.
Of course what?
I had your income tax made out by a reliable man.
You look at me straight in the eye, that means you're lying.
Landing Steve in deep trouble with the IRS for non-payment of back taxes and causing many of Steve's valuable possessions to be repossessed. This proves to be a problem for Steve in his efforts to continue racing competitively and support those who depend on his intense generosity. Enter Susan Jacks, Sinatra, an IRS agent assigned to keep tabs on Steve and apply his future prize money toward his $150,000 debt. But she ends up taking a romantic interest in him as well. Both Steve and Susan also sing, which adds to the plot line. Speedway was originally planned as a film to star Sonny and Cher. However, after their first movie, Good Times flopped at the box office. Columbia sold the rights to MGM, which retooled it for Elvis. He was paid $850,000 plus 50% of the profits. Petula Clark and Annette Funicello were offered the lead female role, but both turned it down. This would be the final Formula musical film of Presley's career. His remaining films would be less musical and more adult in tone. The critical consensus was not nice. A review in Variety declared, "Under Norman Torog's know-how comedy direction, even some of the silliness in the Philip Shukin script gets by as entertainment, but the story lacks the legitimacy of the better Presley stars." However, with Presley in there swinging in his usual style and his own particular brand of lightness, the feature stacks up as an okay entry. Roger Ebert gave the film 2 stars out of 4, writing, "Speedway is pleasant, kind, polite, sweet and noble, and if the Late Show viewers of 1988 will not discover from it what American society was like in the summer of 1968, at least they will discover what it was not like."
What's your name?
Oh, come on. Not me.
Oh, yeah, you.
Oh, no.
Come on. Rules are rules. Go out there and wail.
Till you bring your groovy self on home.
Nancy Sinatra sings the song Your Groovy Self in this movie. The song was also included in the soundtrack LP, making it the first and only song by another artist to be released on an official Elvis Presley record. This was the last of 3 Elvis Presley films in which his character is a race car driver. The first time was in Viva Las Vegas, and the second was in Spin Out. Regarding the fact that almost all of Elvis's movies were essentially alike, an MGM executive once quipped, "Why do we bother to give them titles? Couldn't they just be numbered?" Even though this film is one of Elvis' weaker entries, the chemistry between Sinatra and Presley make it a worthy entry on this list. But my biggest gripe with this film is, why no duet with E and Nancy? Here you have the king of rock with one of the biggest female singers of the 60s and no one thought to have them on a duet? One of the biggest missed opportunities in the history of not just movies and music but of entertainment as a whole. Sinatra says of Presley, "I know he was the funniest man and probably the most serious man I knew, both people in one. He made me laugh so hard, and at the same time, he would call me late at night to discuss things like the ghetto and his concern for people in the ghetto. I don't know if that's surprising," she adds. People who follow his life probably are aware of his sensitivity.
You're wild, extravagant, and unreliable, and you're not the kind of man that I should fall in love with. And besides, we don't even like each other.
Number 1 and Margaret in Viva Las Vegas.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Y'all still want me to come with you?
Our relationship was very strong and very serious and very real. We went together for 1 year.
Are you gonna chicken out?
Yeah, I'm gonna check it out. We'll cut out of here. Look at that plan.
On one condition. Now, the kids here have been expecting you to do something, so if you don't want to dance, sing.
Viva Las Vegas is a 1964 American rock and roll musical film, with auto racing thrown in. directed by George Sidney, choreographed by David Winters, and starring Elvis Presley, Anne Margaret, Cesare De Nova, William Demarest. Set in Las Vegas, Nevada, the film tells about two competing race car drivers who also compete for the same girl. Lucky Jackson, Elvis, goes to Las Vegas, Nevada to participate in the city's first annual Grand Prix race. However, his race car, an Elva Mark VI, is in need of a new engine to compete in the event. Lucky raises the necessary money in Las Vegas, but he loses it when he is shoved into the pool by the hotel's young swimming instructor, Rusty Martin, and Margaret. Lucky then has to work as a waiter at the hotel to replace the lost money to pay his hotel bill, as well as enter the hotel's talent contest in hopes of winning a cash prize sizable enough to pay for his car's engine. During all this time, Lucky attempts to win the affections of Rusty. His main competition arrives in the form of Count Elmo Mancini, Cesare De Nova, and his Ferrari 250 GT Berlinetta. Mancini attempts to win both the Grand Prix and the affections of Rusty. Rusty soon falls in love with Lucky and immediately tries to change him into what she wants. In Great Britain, both the film and its soundtrack were sold as Love in Las Vegas, since there was another, different film called Viva Las Vegas that was being shown in British cinemas at the same time that Presley's was released.
Las Vegas. Viva Las Vegas, where the neon flashing and the one-armed bandits crashing, all those homes down the drain.
The chemistry between the two stars was genuine during filming. Presley and Anne Margaret began an affair, and this received considerable attention from film and music gossip columnists. This reportedly led to a showdown with Presley's worried girlfriend Priscilla Beaulieu. In her 1985 book Elvis and Me, Priscilla Presley describes the difficulties that she experienced when the gossip columnists erroneously announced that Anne Margaret and Presley had become engaged to be married. The filming of Viva Las Vegas reportedly produced unusually heated exchanges between the director, film veteran George Sidney, and Presley's manager, Colonel Tom Parker, who was not credited as a technical advisor in the film's credits. For his role in Viva Las Vegas, Elvis Presley received a third-place prize 1965 Laurel Award for Best Male Performance in a Musical Film. Viva Las Vegas was also the 1965 Laurel runner-up in the category of the Best Musical of 1964. Anne Margaret was praised for her on-screen chemistry with Elvis, as she nearly stole the film from him. On review aggregator Rotten Tomatoes, the film holds an approval rating of 87% based on 30 reviews. The site's critics' consensus reads, Anne Margaret keeps Elvis on his toes, and together they elevate Viva Las Vegas into a naughty and rockin' mild delight. Film Inc. argued Anne Margaret had so much energy and pep that she had blown her previous 3 male co-stars off screen, but Elvis could match her. He was the best on-screen partner she ever had, and she was his. It's the most purely entertaining Elvis movie ever, a complete delight, and it's unbelievable they were never teamed again. The 2000 film The Flintstones in Viva Rock Vegas is a play on the title of Viva Las Vegas. Anne Margaret also appears in this film, in which she performs a version of Viva Las Vegas, retitled Viva Rock Vegas. As part of the Flintstones Stone Age theme, she was credited as Anne Margrock. Surprisingly, according to Variety, Viva Las Vegas earned more in distributors' rentals than A Hard Day's Night, despite both films being released in 1964 at the height of Beatlemania. Viva Las Vegas grossed $9,442,000 compared to $6,165,000 for the Beatles' debut feature. Elvis Presley and Anne Margaret recorded a duet, a Jerry Lieber, Mike Stoller piece called You're the Boss.
You're the best of everything. You're a beat. You're a blonde. You're a diamond. You're a pearl.
But it was never used in the film. It has been released since. Unlike the female leads in his other movies, Anne Margaret got billing of equal size with Elvis Presley for this film. Toni Basil, of Mickey fame, is the girl with the red dress on during What Did I Say? In an interview with Phil Save Nick, George Sidney spoke about how he surprised Elvis Presley and why no soundtrack album was released at the time. I was quite a shock to Elvis. On the first day of production, I rode in on a huge Harley Davidson. On the second day, I drove up in a racing Bentley. Then he found out I owned my own airplane. I had no trouble with Elvis, but it was the only time he would be forced to share billing. Colonel Tom Parker fought me and wouldn't put out a soundtrack album unless Anne Margaret's name was moved. I refused. That's why there was no record. That was our show for today. What did you think? Who was your favorite Elvis leading lady? Someone not on this list? Let me know in the comments section below. While you're at it, I'd appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel, click the bell to stay informed, and check out my Carl Vincent Vampire Hunter franchise, also in the comments section. And until next time, this is Axel and for Kevin Given saying live long and prosper, may the force be with you and keep reaching for the stars.